Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing awesome. My name is Nathan, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Jeskai Geist. Big surprise. I've been asked recently on Twitter and Magic Online and Facebook if what my latest list was, and I've shared it to a couple of people. But I thought, you know what, there might be some other people that want to know, and I haven't shown it to everybody. So I thought I'd talk you guys through a couple of what's really like three lists that I've kind of been working on. One other thing of note, two things of note. First is I had a great match versus Saffron Olive of MTG Goldfish fame on a stream, actually. It's how I kind of found out about it. Well, I mean, I knew it was him, but I found out, somebody told me that it was on a stream. And we had a great match. He was playing Bullet Control. I was playing Jeskai Geist. I was fortunate enough to win. And I was really looking forward to doing the replay because there was some mistakes on both sides, some good plays on both sides, and I just sort of wanted to talk about it, just review it with you guys and point out like areas where I made mistakes, where I should have done something different, stuff like that. However, I didn't record it. I was just finishing up a league, and unfortunately with the latest version of Magic Online that brought us Fatal Push, which I don't yet have because the price was like $12. I don't want to pay $12 for Fatal Push on Magic Online. Within like 8 hours, it's already dropped down to like $5 or something like that. So I'm going to wait till it's a little bit lower and then I'll pick them up. But with the latest patch that brought us that card, the replays have broken. And so it's either something they're going to fix and then I can replay the video and show you guys, or only games from forward will work, in which case it's kind of unfortunate because I won't be able to review it with you. I guess I could always like just review it on his stream with the audio off and just talk about it, but doesn't seem as good that way. Anyway, okay, yeah, so Jeskai Geist. Oh, two other things actually. Again, even though I just said two things, I will be making some play videos soon. I'm sorry this isn't one of them. I just don't have the time. It's 11 o'clock. But I want to. I want to make a league and release one video a day so that you guys have something to watch for a week. Let me know what you want to see. It can be one of the decks I'm going to show you. It can be something different. Just let me know, kind of the decks that you see here, what you would want to see me play, and I'll try to play the one that gets the most votes. Last thing was I forgot. Probably means it's bedtime. Anyway, okay, let's just start talking about the decks. So there's really three. Oh, I know what it was. It was I really actually wanted to share a story with you guys. I recently tried to stop playing Jeskai Geist. Not to stop, just to play something else. And I thought, you know what? I need it as a Magic player. I need to diversify myself. I need to play something different. And I was like thinking, okay, maybe I'll pick up like Infect, or I'll pick up another aggressive deck. It wasn't going to be Burn. I built Burn in paper. This is a while back. I sold it. I started selling it months ago. I never played it at a tournament. I thought I would. I started play testing it and realized that I just hated playing Burn. It was just such a drag. And I'm not, I like competition in Magic and in other hobbies as well. I used to race bicycles and I really enjoyed the competition there as well. But as much as I like winning, I'm not one of those people that wants to win at all costs. Maybe that's a flaw. I don't know. It's just not who I am. It's like if you made me play a deck that I hated, even if I was winning a bunch, I would just be sad. You'd be like, how's it going? How's the tournament? I'd be like, oh, it's fine. I won again. And you'd be like, why do you seem so upset about it? It's like, well, because I don't like the deck. And that's just how it is for me. I'd rather win less but play a deck that I like a lot. And that's probably why I keep playing this deck. Okay, so Jeskai decks. So we really have two primary contenders, and then one lesser contender, and then one that's probably not really a deck. So let's go with the tried and true, the Jeskai Geist. So you guys have seen me play this deck a lot, so I don't necessarily want to visit everything about it. I will just say that I think the best thing a Jeskai Geist can do, like its plan, is to ideally be on the play and kill the first thing they play, like their birds or whatever it is, and then counterspell their second play and play Geist to an empty board. And the reason that's important is because especially if you're on the play. On their turn 3, it's unlikely they're going to be able to overload the board with enough stuff to kill Geist, in which case then you kind of play the tempo game, because now you're going to be able to ideally play your 4th land, do something like play Lightning Helix to kill their blocker, and then hold up a counter spell for their follow-up play, in which case you're probably just going to win. That scenario can open up things like, you Helix their play, you Logic Knot, and then you have Cryptic Command up, and you're attacking with a Geist the whole time. And that's about the best thing that the deck can do. And so for that reason, you want to have the maximum number of Geist allowable, plenty of ways to protect him, all that stuff. You guys, for the most part, I think already know this. A couple of things, though. Spell Queller in this deck is he's best as like additional counter spells against the decks where you want that kind of effect. The problem is you don't really have anything else for them to kill, and so because you have your main win con is a hexproof creature, they generally just end up killing it. But against other decks that don't run a lot of removal, he can be fantastic, and it's nice to be able to add. It's just nice for the deck to be able to have 2 additional counter spells that are also creatures and also kill your opponent. I'm really happy to have Vendilion Click back. For a while I was testing like 4 Geist and 4 Quellers, or 3 Geist and 4 Quellers, or 4 Geist and 3 Quellers. And, Vendilion Click is really great against a lot of decks, and it's really nice to be able to have that like hand disruption element that also gives you information. And it can deal against decks like Tron. It can take cards out of their hand that Spell Queller wouldn't normally not be able to counter. Spell Snare, I used to not be very high on this card because I felt like you very much wanted your counter spells to be live on turn 2. But I started playing it when Dredge was playing Cathartic Reunion. The green-black, like Jund was playing Grimflare in addition to Tarmogoyf and Scavenging Ooze and Dark Confidant. And Thing in the Ice was 2. There's just so many things on 2 to counter. And the one thing I kind of, not that I realized, but I guess came to really realize is that it's still on plan to that kill, counter, play Geist, because if they're on the play, then a lot of times you can Spell Snare their turn 2 play, and then more or less follow that chain. And even if they're able to stick something on that first turn, you can likely then kill it with one of your other removal spells after you played your Geist, and then hold up another spell. So as far as Cryptic Command, this is a card that I don't always see in this deck, but I really, I don't necessarily like the all-in Geist decks that are just like on 4. It's more old school, but like 4 remands and nothing else, because I kind of feel like if you want to think of it as the combo potential isn't necessarily there. You don't have enough burn to make that plan so great, and if you're on the just like play and attack and just go crazy, maybe like Tribal Zoo could be better. I like having the mix of reactive spells and proactive spells. And the nice thing about Cryptic Command is, unlike Jund with Abrupt Decay, we don't really have a way to deal with a resolve permanent. And it's really nice to be able to like bounce something with Cryptic Command, like an Ensnaring Bridge. Obviously, the other reason I like it is when I'm playing a Geist deck, I want every spell that is above the curve from Geist of St. Traft to facilitate him attacking. So Restoration Angel does that with the bounce. Cryptic Command does that because you can tap their team, draw a card, attack with Geist. And in that mode, it practically almost reads pay 4 mana, your opponent takes 10 damage, draw a card. Because even if they block Geist the next turn, they just took 6, and they're gonna probably most likely at least take 4 from the Angel. So yeah, Ancestral Vision. This is sort of just something I'm experimenting with. Normally these would be like, say, a Karanos and a Chandra, or 2 Karanos and an Anger of the Gods. And the idea is that in grindy games, or just games where your Geists are coming out, you want to have these sort of really difficult to remove threats that can take over the game. Then what's different about Ancestral Visions is in grindy games, it basically just enables your deck to do more of what it's already doing. And so you don't really have to change the fabric of your deck so much. You're not necessarily like trying to take out all your Geists and become a board control deck. Although there is times when you board out a couple of Geists, but you're not doing that as much. And you're not trying to like slow the game down until you can slam Chronos. You're going to draw more cards in these grindy games, and you're going to do more of what the deck already does. So that's pretty cool. You bring it in the blue mirrors. You can bring it in against green-black mirrors. Any game where it's going to go long, especially games where it's going to go long because you're going to try to kill everything, and you know that they don't really have a way to interact with the spell. Surgical extractions are obvious. One side note is I've won a couple of games against Lantern Control because they basically just can't beat you without Ensnaring Bridge. And if you end up with a surgical extraction in your hand and they bend their own bridge through one of their mill effects, you can just surgical extract it, take out all their Ensnaring Bridges, and the opponent will probably concede because you'll, unless they already have the absolute hard lock going, you'll eventually get a Geist in play if you don't already have one, and they will die. So one of the reasons I'm also playing, Aven Mind Sensor is there's quite a bit of Tron online right now, and it's kind of slow against Tron, but there's also a decent amount of Valakut. Not like blue, red, green Scape Shift, just red, green, Primeval Titan, Scape Shift, Valakut decks. And it seems like not Prime Time, but Amulet Bloom. It's not a Bloom anymore. I guess Amulet Titan. Summer Bloom is banned. I've also played against that tech quite a bit. So if I'm going to be running into that many decks that are like searching their library, Aven Mind Sensor seems pretty reasonable. And yeah, it's not great. If you can get it early, it can be good against Tron. It's honestly a little bit slow, but it's still reasonable. It still has a very positive interaction with them. And it can also, you can like flash it in, hit one of their Tron lands with your Ghost Quarter. These have been awesome. The two Is It Static Casters. This card is just so good. It's nice to have two. And also, since you're not really running Anger of the Gods, because you don't want your Geist to die, and we're not on that like take out the Geist, bring the Angers in kind of plan, it's nice to have the explosives because they can be a one-sided wrath, and it's also nice to have just this repeated removal for numerous creatures that might be able to get in the way. And Lingering Souls has been a lot on the uptick. Okay, so that's on Magic Online anyway. So that's pretty much the deck. Oh, I didn't really say much about Runed Halo. Runed Halo is, played with the spell in the past and really loved it. And then it just sort of cycled its way out as I was adjusting for other things, and I kind of forgot about it. But I've seen it pop up here and there on Magic Online, and I was reminded how much I like the card. And it is just, you can bring it in a lot of matchups. You can bring it in the matchup against Saffron Olive that I mentioned. I was able to name Gideon, so he couldn't even plus it because it targets your opponent, so he couldn't stop Geist from attacking. He couldn't attack me with Gideon. Basically, completely shut Gideon down. You can also name like Celestial Colonnades, and then obviously they can block with them, but they can't kill you with them. You can name Valakut against those decks. You can name Lightning Storm. Now, a lot of the Ad Nauseam decks do bring in, like, I think a lot of times they'll bring in one of Echoing Truth, but not always. It's just nice to have a way to interact with them. There's a lot of uses for it. I played it against Infect, and it's been amazing. I think I went like turn 1, killed their Glistener Elf, turn 2, Runed Halo, and they proceeded to play like 3 different. I'm not reading it. I went turn 2, Runed Halo, naming Inkmoth Nexus, and they were like on the I have one Glistener Elf and a bunch of Inkmoth Nexus in their hand, or at least they drew them. So it's really nice to be able to like name their man lands and just shut that whole aspect off of their deck. So yeah, I've been pretty happy with that card. So this is the Jeskai Geist version. The other version would be like the Jeskai Flash with Splicers. Now, like I said, Spell Queller is, if you're going to run 4 of them, you might not want to in a deck that doesn't really have any other targets for their removal. However, in this deck, you also have Blade Splicer, which they may want to kill, and it's just it gives them another target for for removal other than Spell Queller, but it also really kind of synergizes with the lots of flyers plan because it really gums up the ground and allows you to fly over with your Restoration Angels and your Quellers and your Clicks. Interestingly, I have played these decks and I have won games. Well, I have lost games that I surely would have won with Geist. I played against Valakut, in which I had them at 3. And they just kept killing everything that I played until they finally killed me, because they killed like my Splicer with Valakut triggers, my Splicer, and my Angel and my Queller and all of this stuff. And if I just had Geist, I would have just won the game earlier because it's hexproof. So that's interesting. I've also won games. I won a game against Merfolk in which I had these Golem tokens, and I was able to. They attacked in with their lords, and I was then able to kill their lord and make these extraordinarily profitable blocks by blocking with a 3/3 first striking Golem token. So it's also nice because Splicer, it's interesting. He's probably better against the green-black decks, although Geist is actually really good against Jund decks. He's just not good against Liliana. But they rely on removal the same way everybody else, or all most other modern like mid-range / control decks do, and Geist doesn't die to that. And if your plan is to block Geist, the deck is really well set up to make that a bad plan. But being that it's a game of attrition, I have to imagine that Blade Splicer is probably better because it's inherent card advantage when you cast it. This list is built off of a list that I saw online that did well at an SCG event a while back. I think the player's name is Kyle Bogamus. I don't really know much about him. I think he's a professional Magic player or semi-pro or something like that. I know he writes content, but it's pretty similar to his list. He had like 2 negates. I like negate in the main quite a bit, but I really like the flexibility of Logic Knot. Sometimes you have to counter a creature, and a lot of times it's just counterspell. And I think the times when Logic Knot is dead are fewer and far betweener the times that it's really great. Sure, it's going to happen sometimes where you don't have enough cards in the graveyard, but it's rare that you find a counterspell in Modern that can be so good early and also be so good late. I can't see myself coming off 2 of these for quite a while. So this deck is just very much more of a flash deck than the Geist deck. I mean, the Geist deck is also a flash deck, but kind of more on that. You're going to play a lot at their end step until you're slamming your Geist. This deck pretty much only wants to play at the end step. And you're not going to just, you're not saying you're playing 4 Splicers main. You're playing Splicer when you need to, but really you're winning the game with your flash creatures. So still a similar deck though. It doesn't turn the corner quite as fast. And I think it's really going to be a meta decision on what is the better deck. It depends on what happens with Fatal Push and how slow the format gets and how reliant on removal people become, and whether or not, Geist is going to look a lot better than, say, a deck like Spellquell that just dies to all the Fatal Pushes and paths and whatever's floating around. So we'll see what happens there. But those are the lists that I've been working on. Now, one list that I'm not as keen on is a Jeskai Flash with Geist. Like I said, if you don't give them as many targets, Spellqueller's more likely to die. Also, this deck is not as all in on that Geist plan. It's just less aggressive. Geist, I think that if you're going to play him, you're better off just committing to him. It's not as, I don't think it's as quite as useful as a 2-of as, say, something like Splicer is. It doesn't gum up the ground the way Splicer does. So while the decks pretty much have access to the same tools, I kind of feel like if you're just going to play just something here as a 2-of, something with a little bit more flexibility might be better. And then the one other thing, and this is more of like, maybe this would be fun. There's supposed to be 2 of these here. It was either going to be Thunder Maws or Storm Breath, but probably Thunder Maws. It was going to be something like this, where it's like, you know, you're just like, everything flies and everything's flash except for the 5-drop that, you know, taps all of their potential flying blockers and follows up your Click, Queller, Restoration Angel with this 5/5 haste dude. So this might not be very good. It just sounds really cool. Maybe I'll test it one of these days. And then I've kind of also been dinking around a bit with Jeskai Delver. I think I'm personally like the mid-range version a little bit more, but it is nice to have early pressure against decks like Tron and stuff like that. So as far as the other decks that I'm interested in Esper Draw Go. It picks up Fatal Push. Kind of very keen and excited to test that. Esper Narset, which is a super cool deck. It's more of like a proactive control deck where you're disrupting early and then playing really powerful things later. Well, really powerful is in like mid-range really powerful, not like Tron really powerful. And then I've also had a really good time playing Esper Thopter Gifts. I don't know that this deck wants Fatal Push. Like you're not gonna run a bunch of pushes and a bunch of paths. Because you're not really trying to kill everything. You're just trying to kill enough stuff to give you time to win with the Thopter Sword combo or gifts. Or rather, when I say gifts, I mean with gifts / like the Unburial Rights package. So anyway, guys, video's already probably getting a little longer than I meant it to be, and I can't imagine that you guys just want to sit and listen to me talk for this long. But for those of you that were interested in the Jeskai Geist deck, I hope you enjoy kind of seeing like what my latest thoughts are. Hopefully I'll be making some videos soon, so please stay tuned. And for those of you who've been watching me long before my hiatus and have been asking me to make more content, I really appreciate it. It's been really nice to see that, you know, people miss watching me play Magic and would like me to do more of it. It's a nice feel-good feeling, so thank you. And I will see you next time. Good night, everyone.